Hello guys, welcome to the Unfair Life Stories. Thanks for joining us. Today we've got a brand new story to share with you. Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise, even more interesting stories. I stole a few hours to surprise Mom for Thanksgiving after paying off her $58,000 mortgage, and she called security on me. She said, "Surprises are for people who belong." I didn't say anything. I just left without a word. They have no idea what I had planned for them that night. I hadn't seen her in over 2 years. Work was relentless. Endless days, constant travel. Building a company from scratch consumed me, but I never stopped helping. I covered her rent when she needed it, fixed things around the house. I even paid off her mortgage in the spring without telling her, believing it would be the best gift she could receive. But the phone never rang. There was no thank you. No how are you. Not even a text. I convinced myself she was busy, maybe overwhelmed. So, when Thanksgiving approached and I finally had some free time, I decided to do something special. I flew from Zurich to surprise her. 13 hours of flying, layovers, delays, but it was all worth it. I brought her favorite pumpkin pie from the bakery she loved and a bouquet of yellow roses. Her favorites. When the taxi stopped in front of the house, I felt like I was 12 again. I was nervous, excited. I climbed the porch steps with a racing heart. I rang the doorbell, flowers in one hand, pie in the other. I heard footsteps on the other side. The door opened slowly. There she was, just as I remembered. Hair in a neat bun, glasses slipping down her nose, and a cardigan buttoned tight. Like armor. But she didn't smile. Her expression was hard, almost impenetrable. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice so cold it made my skin crawl. "Isn't it obvious?" "I wanted to surprise you," I replied, trying to smile. "It's Thanksgiving." She turned her head. For the first time, I noticed the commotion inside the house. Laughter, familiar voices. My brother Ben, my sister Raquel, their spouses, the kids, all there celebrating. Everyone but me. "I flew across the world to see you," I said, swallowing the lump in my throat. "You should have called," she replied. She stepped onto the porch and closed the door behind her. "Surprises are for people who belong," she said slowly. I blinked, stunned. Then she glanced towards a man in a reflective vest watching from the edge of the sidewalk. "He's not welcome," she told the security guard. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. The guard approached cautiously, maybe expecting a scene, but I didn't make one. I just turned and walked away. I descended the steps, dragging my suitcase, still holding the pie and the roses. I didn't look back, didn't say a word. That night, back in my hotel room, I pressed a button, initiating something none of them saw coming. And no, it didn't start that Thanksgiving. The wound was older. I just refused to acknowledge it. It all began 5 years ago. When Dad passed away, things didn't fall apart immediately. It was more like a silent leak that eventually floods the house, without anyone noticing. I remember doing everything I could to support Mom. She was devastated. She spent nights crying, unable to get out of bed. I flew back immediately, took unpaid leave, covered the mortgage, organized the funeral. I never asked for anything in return. I felt like the good son, the one who fixed things, the one who was there. For a while, that was enough. She called me her rock. Ben and Raquel, on the other hand, barely showed up. Ben posted tributes to Dad on Facebook while I single-handedly emptied the garage. Raquel sobbed at the funeral and left early because she had a yoga retreat in Tulum. But I thought, it's grief. Everyone processes differently. You have to give them space. And then the request started. Small at first. "Can you cover the water bill?" Raquel's car broke down. "Ben needs a loan for his startup." I said yes, again and again, because that's what families do. I didn't see it then, but they weren't leaning on me. They were building a system. One where I was the ATM, and they were the exclusive customers. 2 years ago, I paid off Raquel's $9,000 credit card debt. She called me crying, grateful, saying I'd saved her life. The next month, she was posting Instagram stories from a beach Airbnb captioned "Manifesting Luxury." Then she asked for $5,000 to launch a digital art gallery. "NFTs are the future," she said. I never heard about the money or the gallery again. And Mom played innocent, sweet, helpless, but she was the mastermind. She was the one who forwarded me Raquel's BMO request with a sad emoji. She was the one who never mentioned co-signing a third loan for Ben until the creditors started calling me in Switzerland. I confronted her once. I asked why she never told me anything. "I didn't want to worry you," she replied calmly. You've always been so strong, so stable. For a moment, I wanted to believe her. Until, 3 months before Thanksgiving, I received an unexpected call from the bank. "Congratulations," a woman said. "Your mortgage has been paid in full." I was silent. "What mortgage?" "The one on the property in Pennsylvania. Mrs. Armand's house," she added. It was my mother's house. A year earlier, when she called me crying about her overdue bills, I set up monthly payments of $4,800. I did it quietly, without saying a word, convinced that the day she found out she would cry with joy. Payments that totaled $58,000. But she never called. Not a word. Nothing. Who did call? Raquel. 2 days later. "Hey, Mom says the house is paid off," she texted. "Guess you have some free cash now. Ben needs help with rent in LA. Not even a thank you." That was the moment something inside me broke. Not a loud crash, but a silent void. An uncomfortable certainty. To them, I wasn't family. I was a resource, a line of credit with legs. I stopped responding, but the messages didn't stop. Ben sent me a Google Doc titled Family Support Spreadsheet, as if I were an executive on the board of his life. Raquel sent me screenshots of flights to Paris asking if I could donate miles. My mother shared a budget for a kitchen remodel, $22,000, with a subject line that read, "You always said you wanted me to live well." No one asked how I was feeling. No one knew I wasn't sleeping, that I hadn't taken a vacation in 3 years, that my company was in the red, and I'd stopped paying myself so I wouldn't have to lay anyone off. They only called me once that month, and it was when the automatic payment for her Amazon account failed. "Your card must have expired," she said, annoyed. My card, not even a hello. That's when I decided to stage the surprise. I thought showing up unannounced would remind them who I am, that behind the money there's a person, their son. I booked a flight, rented a nearby Airbnb, bought flowers and her favorite pie, but when she saw me, all she said was, "Surprises are for people who belong." And she called security. That night I returned to the Airbnb, my body shaking. There was a pressure in my chest that was suffocating me. I paced for hours until I grabbed my phone and hit post. It wasn't just a tweet, it was catharsis. I uploaded proof, screenshots, emails. The spreadsheet. I redacted names, but I told everything. I wrote for 5 hours straight without thinking about what might happen. I explained how I paid $58,000 for her mortgage without expecting anything, how I flew 13 hours from Europe to surprise my mother for Thanksgiving, and how she had security escort me away. That night, everything changed. It went viral in 6 hours. By morning, I had 50,000 likes. Strangers called me a hero. Others shared experiences of family abuse and emotional exploitation. Psychologists quoted my thread. Influencers messaged me. Even a celebrity retweeted it, saying, "Blood doesn't give anyone the right to exploit you." Raquel texted me furiously, "Are you crazy? Delete that." Now, she sent 3 messages in a row. "What is this? Are you ruining Mom's reputation? Hello, have you sunk?" And finally, Mom called. I didn't respond to any of them for 3 days. The messages became desperate. They went from anger to pleading. "You humiliated us. This isn't the way to fix things. Delete it, or don't come back." I hadn't planned it this way, but it wasn't over either. On the 4th day, Mom left me a voicemail. Her tone was sweet, but every word was a weapon. "Honey, I'm trying to be mature. You're upset. We understand. You made your point. Now it's time to clean up the mess. Raquel's job is at risk." Ben's boss read the post. "Even people from church have called me." Dramatic pause. "Is that what you wanted? To shame your mother all over the internet?" I stared at my phone in silence. Then I called her. She answered on the first ring. "Oh, now you want to talk?" "I'm coming over," I said without emotion. "I'll be there in 30. "What do you mean coming?" "Open the door." And I hung up. I stood on the same porch that had been closed in my face before. It didn't feel like coming home. It felt like returning to a battlefield. Ben's car was in the driveway, as was Raquel's SUV. Perfect. I wanted them all present. I hadn't even knocked when my mother opened the door. Her face was tense, arms crossed, as if she already knew what was coming. Behind her, on the stairs, Raquel watched with an impenetrable expression. Ben was in the kitchen, leaning against the counter like a lawyer about to begin an interrogation. Finally, they were all there, and I was ready to talk. "Sit down," I said firmly. No one moved. I said sit down. With some resistance, they obeyed. Then I pulled out a folder. Nothing digital, old school, printed pages, screenshots, payment records, bank transfers, invoices, everything I needed. This, I said, tossing the papers onto the table, is every penny I've contributed to this family in the last 6 years. My mother glanced at it for a second, but quickly looked away. I continued, you think I embarrassed you online? I've been cleaning up your messes in silence for years without complaining. While you mock me behind my back, you want to know what's really embarrassing? That I had to go viral for any of you to notice how rotten this all is. Come on, Ben scoffed. You're acting like we forced you. You offered to help. I didn't answer him. You manipulated me, I said flatly. Which is different. You always played the we're family card when you needed money. But when I showed up with flowers and pie, who answered the door? Mom's voice rose. It's because you humiliated us. I turned to her, my eyes blazing. You've your mortgage, $58,000, and you couldn't even send me a text. You organized an entire Thanksgiving dinner pretending I didn't exist. Her lips twisted in disdain. You always play the victim. I let out a bitter laugh. No, Mom. I played the son, and you treated me like an investment plan. When I stopped generating returns, you slammed the door in my face. Raquel slammed her glass down. You have no right to judge us. You're not a saint just because you earn more. No, Raquel, I'm not a saint. But I'm not your personal ATM either. Ben stood up, trying to assert himself. Do you really think money makes you better than us? No, I said, looking directly at him. But it opened my eyes. Then I dropped the final bomb. I talked to a lawyer. Silence felt like a slap. Mom blinked. What for? I pulled out another envelope. Remember when you co-signed Ben's loan without telling me? That's called financial fraud. Ben went pale. I'm not pressing charges for now, but the loan is no longer in my name. I reassigned it. It's exclusively yours now, Ben. You're welcome. He tried to say something, but just opened and closed his mouth and sat back down. Raquel looked at me as if I'd grown horns. Are you being vindictive, spiteful? No, I said calmly. I'm setting boundaries. I looked at them all one last time. This was never about the money. It was about respect, and none of you showed me an ounce of it. My mother shook her head as if I were a misbehaving child. You've made your point. Happy now? I didn't answer, but I would be. I took out my phone, opened my banking app, and with a single tap, canceled transfers. Disabled automatic payments. The monthly deposit Mom used for Amazon gone. Ben's backup email linked to his card gone. Happy Thanksgiving, I said. And this time, I walked out of that house without looking back. There were no tears, not even a tremor in my body. Something inside me had burned completely. And what emerged wasn't sadness, it was clarity. It was over. Enough of being the reliable one. Enough of being the strong one while they drained me dry behind a smile. That night, I turned off my phone and poured myself a drink in the Airbnb. The social media notifications wouldn't stop. My story had been shared over 100,000 times. Messages from all over the world filled my inbox. Strangers calling me brave. Therapists writing threads about emotional enmeshment. Journalists requesting interviews. But of everything I read, nothing impacted me as much as one comment. The ones who call you cruel are the same ones who fed off your silence. I reread it 10 times because it was true. The next morning, I flew back to Zurich. As the plane took off, so did the weight in my chest. For the first time in years, I wasn't calculating how much money I had left to send someone. I wasn't checking my email expecting another family emergency disguised as an urgency. I just looked out the window and exhaled. And then, silence. Glorious, painful, necessary silence. No messages from Mom. No guilt trips from Raquel. No urgent calls from Ben. Not because they didn't try, but because I had blocked them all. The first week back was surreal. I expected to feel guilty, like an invisible hand would squeeze my heart. But it never happened. Instead, I felt peace. I worked without distractions. I slept a full night. I went for a walk at 2 a.m. simply because I could. I even booked a weekend getaway to the Alps. Nothing luxurious. But it was one of those things I used to tell myself I didn't have time for. But chaos doesn't die with silence. 2 weeks later, Raquel tried to counterattack. She posted a vague message on social media about how families shouldn't be transactional, with vague references to someone who exploited her online for attention. Her friends supported her, but unfortunately for her, the internet didn't believe her. Old screenshots of her messages bragging about milking her rich brother like a cash cow surfaced. The post disappeared in less than 24 hours. Ben didn't say anything publicly, but I knew he was on the verge of collapse when his boss called me from a private number. It turns out Ben had put me down as a professional reference, And apparently, someone had read the viral thread. Is all this true? The guy asked. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. They fired Ben that same week. Just as I imagined, Mom doubled down. My friends told me she was going around saying I'd lost my mind, that I'd turned against the family. She even organized a dinner at her house with the same turkey, at the same table, but with fewer people. I saw a picture. She looked tired, worn down, and for the first time, no one was pretending. What I didn't expect was what happened next. My extended family started reaching out, not to berate me, but to thank me. A distant cousin sent me a private message. I always admired how you handled things. Now I understand how much they demanded of you. A cousin in Ohio wrote, I cried reading your story. I'm going through something similar with my parents. You gave me strength. Even my mother's sister, whom I hadn't spoken to in over 10 years, sent me a message. Your mother did the same thing to me. I didn't have the courage to walk away. You did. That's when I understood the truth. I hadn't destroyed the family. I had just exposed how rotten it already was. The problem was never the money. It was the sense of entitlement. The constant theatrics, that habit of showing affection only when there was something to gain. Without my financial support, there was nothing left to unite them. I was the glue, and when I walked away, the cracks widened. But the biggest surprise came 3 weeks later. I was at work when my assistant poked her head in the door. There's someone downstairs asking for you, she said. He says he's your brother. I froze. Which one? She didn't say, but her bewildered look was enough for me to guess. It was Ben. I found him in the lobby with his arms crossed. He looked broken, hair a mess, clothes wrinkled. He was dejected. He'd lost weight. No smug smile. No rehearsed phrases. He just looked at me and said, F***K. He didn't defend himself. He didn't blame me. Just that. I didn't reply. He swallowed. I lost my job, he murmured. Raquel. Mom's acting like she's the one who was betrayed. I watched him silently. I know I can't undo what I did, he continued. But I came to tell you something. He took out his phone and showed me a screenshot. He had paid off the entire loan we had co-signed. In my name. Without Mom's help. Without Raquel's support. Just him. I'm trying to fix what I can, he said. And I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't hug him. I didn't cry. I just nodded. That was enough. I didn't go back for Christmas or birthdays. Not even when Mom accidentally sent me a blurry photo of an old family album with a message that said, some memories are priceless. I left it on read. And you know what? I didn't feel guilty. Because, for the first time in my life, I had nothing to justify. I wasn't the villain. I was the one who finally turned off the tap, while everyone screamed that water was a birthright. I used to think family meant unconditional love. Now I know that for some, it means unconditional access to your time, your money, your silence. And when you take it away, they don't cry for you. They mourn the loss of the service you provided. It didn't surprise me. Mom missed a mortgage payment. Raquel didn't miss her brother. She missed the free flights, the Venmo deposits. Hey, can you spot me later? Only got traction when life, finally, told her no. Like I never could. I still remember the last message Mom sent me before I blocked her permanently. You were always the difficult one. Maybe if we had tried harder, we wouldn't be like this. I laughed so hard I almost dropped my phone. I was the one who tried the hardest. I tried so hard I supported 3 lives that weren't mine. And yet, they called me selfish when, for the first time, I chose myself. And here's the twist they'll never acknowledge. They needed me more than I needed them. Now I'm okay. I sleep. I take walks. I eat good food because I buy it for myself. I booked a month off for next spring. There are no emergencies to cover. No accounts to empty to cover someone else's irresponsibility. Do I regret making my story public? Not for a second. Because sometimes, shame is the only currency understood by those who abuse. They didn't care when I was drowning in silence. But when I stood up and said, I'm taking back control, the world listened, and that hurt them. They didn't lose the goose that laid the golden eggs. They lost the version of me that tolerated being taken for granted. And I didn't burn bridges. I just refused to keep building them alone. Let them build the next ones. Let them bleed for someone else. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories. I stole a few hours to surprise Mom for Thanksgiving, after paying off her $58,000 mortgage, and she called security on me. After years of silently supporting my family, covering bills, paying off debts, and even settling my mother's mortgage, I decided to surprise her for Thanksgiving. Instead of gratitude, I was met with rejection. She called security and told me, "Surprises are for people who belong." This video shares the full story of what led to that moment: emotional manipulation, financial exploitation, and a painful reckoning that went viral. I'm no longer staying silent. This is what really happened.